What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. We continue here with my 2024 predictions for the upcoming 2024 college football season. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish are up next. The Fighting Irish coming off a pretty great year last year, or I should say a pretty good year. They went 10-3 overall, so a 10-win season here for Notre Dame. Obviously, though, not coming close to making it to the college football playoff, of course, but this was a pretty good Notre Dame team. My thoughts on this team for 2024, I think they have a chance to be pretty good. This is a very talented Notre Dame team. You look at the offensive side of the football, they do bring in Riley Leonard, of course, the transfer quarterback coming over from Duke. We'll see how he develops there at the quarterback position, and then defensively, I think they're going to be pretty solid there. They are a pretty talented defense. Obviously Marcus Freeman taking over ever since a couple years ago. The defense has always been pretty solid, so I think the defense will be pretty solid. But overall, this is going to be a very talented Notre Dame team. Let's go ahead and get to the schedule here for 2024. This is the schedule here for Notre Dame. Again, they were 10-3 last year in 2023. So let's go game by game now and give you a record prediction here for the Fighting Irish for 2024. First game of the season, of course, is on the road here at Texas A&M on August 31st. A big game to kick off the season here for both of these teams, for the Fighting Irish and the Aggies. It's on the road here for Notre Dame. I do expect a very tough one here for the Fighting Irish. I think going into this game, Notre Dame might be the favorite in this one, and they also might be the more talented team. But let me tell you something. Texas A&M is not going to be a really bad team. They do have a first-year head coach, but I think this Texas A&M team is going to have a lot of talent on the roster. They got a lot of experience coming back on both sides of the football. Of course, Mike Elko is now taking over down there for Texas A&M. We'll see a reunion here. Riley Leonard going up against his former head coach at Duke. So, yeah, this is going to be a pretty good game. College game day, of course, going to be here for this one. It's one of the biggest games coming up here in week number one, especially when you get college game day down there at, Kyle Field and everything. This is a back-and-forth game for me. I think it's going to be a low-scoring type game here between these two teams. I've been back and forth on this game. My gut feeling is telling me to go with the more talented team here with the Fighting Irish and Notre Dame, but this is a 50-50 game. Anything can happen in this one. With that being said, it's kind of hard to go against Texas A&M when they're playing at their home field. So with that being said, 50-50 game. I'm going to go with the home field advantage. I must say that the Aggies do pull off an early upset here and give Notre Dame already their first loss of the season. So I think Notre Dame does lose their first game here of the season on the road here at Texas A&M. Again, that's a very tough game to call, especially when it's on a tough road environment at Texas A&M. So I got Notre Dame losing that one, and that puts their record here at 0-1, or I should say they start out 0-1, and then they take care of business, though, against Northern Illinois here on September the 7th at home. So that puts Notre Dame's record here at 1-1, and then after that, it's a road game against Purdue here on September 14th. I don't think Purdue is going to be that horrible this year. They're not going to be a bad team. I think they might be a little bit better this season with their second-year head coach, but Notre Dame definitely is the more talented team here. I do expect the Fighting Irish to probably be a little bit better in this road environment than the Texas A&M environment and everything, and plus, they already had a road game, so I think Notre Dame does win this one fairly easily here on the road at Purdue. Like I said, I don't think the Boilermakers are going to be that horrible, but, they just don't have the talent like Notre Dame does to compete in this one. I know it's a road game. Anything can happen. We've seen Notre Dame really choke in these road games in the past, but I think Notre Dame does win that one, and that puts their record here at 2-1. And then they take care of business against Miami of Ohio University here on September 21st, so that puts their record here at 3-1. And then after that, it's a home game against Louisville here on September 28th. I've already done my Louisville prediction video from last Friday, and I did choose Notre Dame to win this game. I think Notre Dame's going to get revenge here on Louisville. It's a revenge game, obviously, here for the Fighting Irish. Last year's game, obviously, Louisville dominated, in the second half. Louisville kind of ruined Notre Dame's playoff hopes, and I think their playoff chances to probably make the college football playoff at the end of the year. And, plus Notre Dame was like a top 10 team by that time. So, yeah, Louisville definitely ruined Notre Dame's playoff hopes. This year, Notre Dame might ruin Louisville's playoff hopes early on in the season. But I think this is a revenge game here for the Fighting Irish. I think the crowd will be fired up in this one. I think it's going to be a low-scoring type game, but it's going to be a close game. I think Notre Dame does win it, though, here. They get revenge here on the Cardinals from last year's game, and that puts their record now here at 4-1. They get their bye week here. They get their first bye week here of the season before playing at home against Stanford on October 12th. Obviously, this is a rivalry game. Anything can happen here between these two teams, but Notre Dame has dominated the series as of late. I don't think Stanford's going to be that horrible this year, just like Purdue and some of these other teams that we're going to talk about here later on this schedule, but Notre Dame is playing at home in this one. I don't really expect a close game, plus they get a bye week here before this rivalry game, and I think Notre Dame wins it. I think they win it fairly easily here against Stanford. Again, they have dominated the series as of late, so I got Notre Dame winning that one, and that puts their record here at 5-1. Next game is on the road here at Georgia Tech on October 19th. Georgia Tech's not going to be that terrible of a team either. This was actually a very big surprise team last year going to a bowl game. It seems like this program is heading in the right direction. You do have some concerns about Georgia Tech's defense and everything. That's what I'm concerned about. They also have a very tough schedule, but I think their offense is going to be pretty good. You got Haynes King coming back at quarterback that has a lot of experience at that quarterback position. So yeah, this will be a very tough game, but I think Notre Dame definitely is the more talented team. The game is probably close in the first half, but I think Notre Dame finds a way to pull away in the second half, and I think they do beat Georgia Tech here on the road on October 19th, so that puts their record here at 6-1. And then after that, they'll play Navy here on October 26th. Of course, this game will be in New Jersey. Last year's game between these two teams actually was in Dublin, Ireland. Notre Dame actually dominated the game like 42-3. I don't really expect the same kind of game to happen this year. I think Navy probably will run out the clock a little bit more in this one. I think Notre Dame, though, is definitely the more talented team. Plus, just like the Stanford game, Notre Dame has dominated the series as of late against this Navy team. I don't think Navy is going to be that horrible of a team, but they haven't been really good in the last few years. So with that being said, I think Notre Dame definitely is the more talented team. I know this is a neutral site game. Anything can happen, but I think the Notre Dame fans are going to, probably show up more than Navy fans. So I think Notre Dame does win this one in a low-scoring type game. Like I said, I think Navy's offense, runs that triple option. They waste the clock a lot in this one, but I don't think it will be enough. I think Notre Dame does win that one, and that puts their record here at 7-1. And then they get their second bye week here before another big-time game against Florida State here on November 9th. This will be a home game here for the Fighting Irish. I've already done my Florida State video a couple weeks ago, and I did choose the Fighting Irish to win this one just because they're playing at home. I think both of these teams are pretty even. Notre Dame might be the more talented team, but I think Florida State definitely is clearly, definitely like on the level of Notre Dame's talent. But Notre Dame playing at home in a 50-50 close type matchup. You look at this schedule as well. They do play the top two teams in the ACC that went to the championship last year, and they get both of these games at home against Louisville and Florida State. But again, this is a 50-50 game, a close game, kind of a tough one to call, but home field advantage might favor the difference in this one. Plus the Fighting Irish do get a bye week here before playing this one, and I think that does help them out just a little bit. So I think Notre Dame does beat Florida State here. I wouldn't really say it's a big upset though, because Florida State might not be the same team from where they were from last year, but either way, I think Notre Dame does win that one just because they're playing at home. And then after that, it's another home game against Virginia here on November 16th. Just like the Stanford game, I don't think Virginia is going to be that horrible of a team this year either. They might be a little bit better. The Cavaliers do have a lot of production coming back on, offense and everything, but it won't be enough to pull off a huge upset in this one. Notre Dame is at home in this one. They definitely should win this one fairly easily. So I think Notre Dame does take care of business, and they beat Virginia there. And then they also take care of business against Army on November 23rd. So just like the Navy game, Army's going to waste the clock down. They're going to run as much clock as they can to keep that Notre Dame offense off the field and keep that defense of Notre Dame on the field for as long as possible. But it won't be enough for the Black Knights to pull off an upset here. I think Notre Dame does beat Army here on November 23rd, so that puts their record now at 10-1. And then the final game of the season is on the road at USC on November 30th. Last year's game, of course, was played in the month of September, which I really found surprising. But this year they're playing in rivalry weekend. I like this rivalry being at the last part of the regular season, probably somewhere in the month of November, but You know, especially in rivalry weekend, this is the place where I think this game definitely should be held. But, you know, this game will be on the road this year. It's a revenge game here for the Trojans. USC is not going to be that horrible of a team, but, you know, defensively, I do have a lot of concerns about USC's defense. I mean, offensively, they really can, you know, match up with this Notre Dame defense pretty well. Last year, Notre Dame absolutely blew out USC. I don't really expect the same thing to happen this year. I think it's going to be a shootout here in this one. This is a tough one to call. I've been back and forth on this game. If it was at home for Notre Dame, I definitely would go with Notre Dame in this one, but playing on the road, it's obviously a rivalry game. Anything can happen, and it's definitely one of those upset alert type games here at the end of the season. Let's say that Notre Dame is probably ranked in the top 5 by this point, maybe even top 10, but I think USC does pull off an upset here in this one. Again, it's a rivalry game. You obviously never know what can happen, so I think USC does get revenge here on Notre Dame from last year's game. Again, that's a very tough one to call, especially playing on the road here at USC. Again, just like the Texas A&M game, my gut feeling was telling me to go with Notre Dame just because they're the more talented team. But again, USC has a really good offense, and plus they're playing at home. It's hard to go against the Trojans when they're playing at their home field, you know, and everything. So with that being said, I think USC does give Notre Dame their second loss here of the season, and that's what my prediction is for Notre Dame. My prediction for Notre Dame is 10-2 here for 2024. So I think this is a pretty fair prediction here for Notre Dame. You look at this schedule, it's not that horrible. Yes, they do play Texas A&M and USC both on the road, but I think that Texas A&M game is definitely their toughest, you know, road game here on this schedule. You got Louisville and Florida State both at home. Those are the top 2 teams possibly coming up this year in the ACC. That's the reason why I think Notre Dame might have a chance to make the playoff with those couple wins, and also with this schedule, they can definitely make the college football playoff as well. So, but again, my prediction for Notre Dame is 10-2 here for 2024. Let me guys know what you think about this Notre Dame team down in the comments below. What do you think their record will be for 2024? Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports channel.